Desperate measures. Olivia Chen stared at the eviction notice taped to her apartment door, the bold red letters blurring as tears threatened to spill. 3 months behind on rent after the art school where she taught closed without warning. 3 months of dwindling savings and desperate job applications leading nowhere. Final notice, it proclaimed, as if she needed the reminder. Inside her cramped studio apartment, canvases leaned against walls. Landscapes and portraits she'd once hoped would hang in galleries instead of gathering dust. Her phone chimed with a calendar reminder. Rent due, $1,850. The sum might as well have been $1 million. Scrolling through job listings on her laptop, an advertisement caught her eye. Live-in nanny needed immediately. Room, board, and generous compensation provided. Experience with special needs children preferred. Olivia hesitated. She had taught art to children for 6 years before the school closed, but she wasn't a nanny. Still, her finger hovered over the apply button. What choice did she have? 3 days later, she found herself driving through imposing iron gates, following a winding driveway that revealed a modern mansion nestled among manicured gardens. Floor-to-ceiling windows reflected the afternoon sunlight, the house seemingly watching her approach with cold, glassy eyes. "This is insane," she muttered, parking her decade-old Honda beside a sleek black Bentley. Her entire apartment could fit in the mansion's entryway. The door opened before she could knock. A woman with silver-streaked black hair and impeccable posture regarded her with critical eyes. "Miss Chen?" "I'm Mrs. Reynolds, the housekeeper. Mr. Blackwood is waiting in his study." Following Mrs. Reynolds through the marble-floored hallway, Olivia felt increasingly out of place in her simple navy dress and worn ankle boots. The house, despite its grandeur, felt eerily quiet, like a museum after hours. The study door opened to reveal a man standing with his back to her, gazing out at the ocean view. Tall, with broad shoulders tapering to a narrow waist, he remained motionless as Mrs. Reynolds announced her. "Thank you, Alina," he said, his voice deep and measured. When he turned, Olivia's breath caught. Ethan Blackwood was younger than she'd expected, mid-30s perhaps, with striking features framed by dark hair threaded with silver at the temples. His eyes, a piercing blue, assessed her with unsettling intensity. "Miss Chen, you have no experience as a nanny." A statement, not a question. Olivia straightened her spine. "I taught art to children for 6 years, Mr. Blackwood. I've worked with students across all developmental spectrums." "And yet you're applying for a live-in position with no references from similar roles." "I'm adaptable, patient, and genuinely care about children's well-being. I believe those qualities matter more than a perfect resume." Something flickered across his face, surprise perhaps, before his expression returned to careful neutrality. "My son Maxwell is 7. He hasn't spoken since his mother's accident 2 years ago. 4 nannies have quit in the past year alone." He studied her reaction. "Still interested?" Olivia nodded, her resolution strengthening. "Even more so." A slender boy appeared in the doorway then, watching her with solemn brown eyes. His resemblance to his father was striking, the same strong jawline, though softened by childhood. When Olivia smiled at him, he didn't return it, but neither did he look away. "Hello, Maxwell," she said gently. "I'm Olivia." Ethan watched the interaction closely. Max doesn't respond well to new people. Yet the boy had taken a tentative step into the room, his gaze fixed on the colorful braided bracelet on Olivia's wrist. "Do you like this?" she asked, extending her arm. "I made it. I could show you how if you'd like." Max didn't answer, but he moved closer, reaching out one small hand to touch the threads. "You're hired," Ethan said abruptly. "Mrs. Reynolds will show you to your quarters and review Max's schedule. You start tomorrow." As Olivia followed the housekeeper out, she glanced back to see Ethan watching her, his expression unreadable. What had she gotten herself into? For better or worse, this mansion was now her home, this wounded family her responsibility. She had nowhere else to go.
Whispers and wounds. The first time Max laughed, the sound was so unexpected that Olivia nearly dropped the container of bubbles she was holding. They were in the garden, rainbow spheres floating around them in the afternoon light, when one landed on Ethan's nose as he rounded the corner. The startled expression on his face triggered a small, rusty giggle from Max. Ethan froze, his eyes wide with wonder. Did he just... Olivia nodded, her own eyes brimming with tears. He did. Later that night, after Max was asleep, Ethan found Olivia in the library. Without a word, he wrapped his arms around her, his embrace fierce and grateful. "Thank you," he whispered against her hair. When he pulled back, something changed in his expression, awareness dawning as his hands lingered at her waist. For a suspended moment, Olivia thought he might kiss her, could see the question in his eyes. The library door swung open. "Am I interrupting?" Rebecca Harrington stood in the doorway, her crimson lips curved in a cold smile. Caroline's sister visited monthly, her designer clothes and perfect blonde hair a stark reminder of the elegant woman whose photos still adorned the hallways. "Rebecca." Ethan stepped back, his professional mask sliding seamlessly into place. "I didn't realize you were visiting today." Clearly. Her gaze swept over Olivia with dismissive precision. "I was hoping to discuss the memorial garden plans with you, privately." Olivia excused herself, feeling Rebecca's eyes burning into her back as she left. The next morning, Rebecca appeared at breakfast, announcing she would stay for the week to spend quality time with her nephew. Her presence cast a shadow over the household's fragile peace. Max withdrew, refusing to participate in activities when his aunt hovered nearby. "He's regressing," Ethan observed worriedly, after Max refused dinner for the second night. "He senses the tension," Olivia replied. "Children are incredibly perceptive." "What tension?" Rebecca asked from the doorway. "The only tension I see is my nephew struggling while his father is distracted by other interests." The accusation hung in the air. "Perhaps we should discuss this elsewhere," Ethan suggested, his jaw tight. "Why?" "I'm simply concerned about my sister's son and the influences around him." "Olivia has been instrumental in Max's progress," Ethan countered. Rebecca's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Is that what we're calling it? Because from where I stand, it looks like a convenient arrangement. A young, attractive woman moving into a wealthy widower's home. How original." Olivia felt the blood drain from her face. "That's not... Did you know she was facing eviction when she applied for this position? I took the liberty to look into her background. Quite the financial predicament." Ethan's expression hardened. "That's enough, Rebecca." "Is it? Because these just arrived?" She pulled out her phone, displaying photos of Ethan and Olivia on the terrace, his hand covering hers. "Tomorrow's tabloid feature, tech billionaire's new love, the nanny. Caroline would be devastated." The word struck with surgical precision. "Leave," Ethan said, his voice dangerously quiet. "Excuse me? Pack your things and leave my house, now." After Rebecca stormed out, the silence between them stretched painful and taut. "Ethan, I never—" "Is it true?" he interrupted. "About the eviction?" Olivia's chest tightened. "Yes, but that's not why I need to think." He rubbed his temples. "This is exactly why I've kept to myself. The speculation, the intrusion." His eyes met hers, conflicted and guarded. "I can't subject Max to this." "To what? People caring about him? About you?" "To losing someone else." The raw honesty in his voice made her flinch. "I don't know what this is between us, but I can't risk Max getting attached. And then what? Me leaving? That's what you're really afraid of, isn't it? Not the tabloids or Rebecca's accusations, but letting someone in. You don't understand what we've been through. I understand you're using it as a shield." Tears stung her eyes. "I care about Max. And you. But I won't apologize for needing this job when I applied, and I won't be made to feel guilty for the feelings that developed afterward." Ethan's expression shuddered.
Perhaps it would be best if you limited your interactions with Max to his educational needs. Mrs. Reynolds can handle the rest." The dismissal cut deeper than any accusation. Olivia nodded stiffly, dignity the only thing preventing her tears. "As you wish, Mr. Blackwood." She turned and walked away, leaving Ethan standing alone in the hallway, surrounded by the ghosts of his past and the ruins of what might have been. Storm breaking. 3 days of silence followed, 3 days of Olivia and Ethan orbiting each other like distant planets. She focused on Max's lessons, while Ethan buried himself in work, their only interactions the stiff exchanges during dinner. Max sensed the tension immediately, his brief progress retreating like tide from shore. The weather mirrored the household's mood, dark clouds gathering over the coastline, wind whipping the trees into frenzied dances. By afternoon, the storm warning sirens wailed across the property. "Secure the windows in the east wing," Mrs. Reynolds instructed staff as she hurried past Olivia. "Mr. Blackwood is monitoring from his office. The generators are prepped if we lose power." Olivia nodded, heading to Max's room to check on him. When she pushed open the door, her heart stopped, the bed empty, dinosaur nightlights still glowing on the nightstand. "Max," she called, checking his bathroom, closet, beneath the bed. Nothing. She raced down the hallway, panic rising in her throat. The first drops of rain pelted against the windows as she burst into Ethan's office. "Max is missing." Ethan's face drained of color. "What do you mean, missing? He's not in his room or the playroom. I've checked the kitchen and library." Thunder cracked overhead as they organized the staff into search parties. Rain now fell in sheets, lightning illuminating the grounds in harsh, white flashes. "The security system shows the garden door opening 20 minutes ago," the head of security reported, pointing to the monitor, "but the cameras are down now due to the storm." Ethan grabbed a raincoat. "I'll check the grounds. You continue searching inside." "I'm coming with you," Olivia insisted, already pulling on boots. "This isn't your responsibility anymore," he said sharply. "He's not a responsibility to me, Ethan. He never was." Her voice broke. "I love that little boy, whether you want me to or not." Something shifted in his expression before he gave a terse nod. They separated outside, flashlights cutting weak paths through the downpour. Olivia headed towards the rose garden, while Ethan checked the tennis courts and pool house. The wind howled, bending trees and sending debris skittering across the lawn. Intuition pulled Olivia toward the far corner of the property, where a small memorial garden stood enclosed by hedges. Caroline's garden, the one place Olivia had respectfully avoided. "Max?" she called, her voice barely audible above the storm. A flash of lightning revealed a small figure huddled beneath the stone gazebo in the garden's center. Olivia rushed forward, relief flooding through her. "Max, thank God!" She knelt beside him, brushing soaked hair from his forehead. "Everyone's worried sick about you." His face was tear-streaked, body trembling with cold. In his hands he clutched a silver picture frame. Caroline smiling beside a younger Ethan, her hand resting on a barely visible baby bump. "Oh, sweetheart," Olivia whispered, understanding washing over her. The anniversary of Caroline's death was approaching. Even in her absence from family discussions, the weight of it pressed down on the household. Max looked up at her with devastated eyes, and then did something that stole her breath. He spoke. "Don't go," he whispered, his voice raspy from disuse. Olivia fought back tears. "Max, please," he gripped her sleeve. "Don't leave us." "Max!" Ethan's voice cut through the rain as he appeared at the garden entrance, wild-eyed with fear. He spotted them and ran forward, dropping to his knees beside his son. "What were you thinking? You could have been hurt." "She's leaving," Max said, the words flowing more easily now that the dam had broken. "Like Mom did. Everyone leaves." Ethan froze, staring at his son in shock. "You're talking—" "Don't make her go, Dad." Max's voice strengthened with urgency. "She makes the scary go away." Ethan's gaze shifted to Olivia, who knelt silent and dripping in the rain, her heart breaking for them both. I was scared, Max continued, the words tumbling out after years of silence. Aunt Becca said Olivia would leave, and you were sad again. And I thought if I came to talk to Mom, maybe... He couldn't finish, but Ethan pulled him close, enveloping him in a fierce embrace. I'm so sorry, he murmured against Max's hair. Over Max's head, his eyes met Olivia's, blue depths filled with regret and something deeper, something that made her breath catch despite the cold rain seeping through her clothes. Let's get inside, Ethan said finally, lifting Max into his arms. We all have a lot to talk about. Hours later, after Max had been bathed, checked by the doctor, and tucked into bed between them, still reluctant to let either out of his sight.
Hearts restored. Spring unfurled across the estate, painting the gardens in vibrant hues. 6 months had passed since the storm that changed everything. In that time, Max had transformed from a silent shadow to a boy whose laughter echoed through the once somber halls. Olivia stood before her easel on the terrace, capturing the sunrise in bold strokes of amber and rose. Teaching art classes twice weekly at the community center had rekindled her passion for painting. Now, with her first gallery showing scheduled for summer, she balanced her own creative rebirth with her role in the Blackwoods' lives. Strong arms encircled her waist from behind, and she leaned into Ethan's embrace. "You started without me," he murmured against her neck. "The light was perfect." She tilted her head as his lips found the sensitive spot beneath her ear. "Besides, you were sleeping so peacefully." Last night had been the quarterly board meeting for his company, tensions running high as they unveiled a revolutionary new software platform. Ethan had returned late, mentally exhausted but triumphant. Their celebration had lasted well into the early hours, bodies entwined in the sanctuary of their bedroom, whispered promises punctuating each caress. "I prefer waking up with you beside me." His hands traced the curves of her hips. His touch ignited familiar warmth. "Especially when I have plans for those few quiet moments before Max wakes up." Olivia turned in his arms, brushing paint-stained fingers along his jawline. "Is that so, Mr. Blackwood?" His kiss was answer enough, tender at first, then deepening with an intensity that still surprised her after all these months. Her body responded immediately, melting against his solid frame. A small cough from the doorway interrupted them. "Gross," Max declared with the authority of an 8-year-old, though his grin betrayed him. "Mrs. Reynolds says breakfast is ready, and I need help with my project before school." Ethan sighed dramatically against Olivia's lips. "Impeccable timing as always, buddy." Max's project was the centerpiece of today's elementary school art show, a collaborative family portrait that had consumed their evenings for weeks. Unlike the stick figures of his earlier drawings, this painting depicted 3 figures standing before an easel, Max in the center, flanked by Ethan and Olivia, all 3 of them holding paintbrushes to a shared canvas. "It's our family," Max had explained matter-of-factly when he first sketched the concept, unaware of how those simple words had brought tears to Olivia's eyes. They weren't a conventional family, the healing still ongoing, the adjustment to new roles sometimes awkward. Rebecca had eventually apologized, her initial hostility softening when she witnessed Max's transformation. Even Mrs. Reynolds had evolved from cool professionalism to genuine warmth, often saving Olivia's favorite pastries when she baked. That afternoon, they walked hand in hand into the school gymnasium, transformed into a gallery of children's artwork. Max ran ahead to ensure his painting was perfectly positioned, while parents and teachers milled around examining the displays. "Nervous?" Ethan asked, sensing Olivia's tension. "A little," she admitted. "This is my first official school function as my partner," he finished, squeezing her hand. "The woman who brought my son back to life. Who brought me back to life." Before she could respond, Max was tugging them toward his display, proudly pointing out details to his art teacher. "Max has extraordinary talent," the teacher told them. "His emotional expressivity is remarkable, especially considering—" She trailed off, but they understood. Max's silence had been well documented in his school records.
He has an extraordinary teacher at home, Ethan replied, his arms settling around Olivia's waist. As the event wound down, Max joined his friends for refreshments, while Ethan led Olivia toward a quiet corner. "I have something for you," he said, uncharacteristic nervousness coloring his voice. He produced a small velvet box from his pocket, and Olivia's heart stuttered. "Ethan, before you say anything, this isn't a grand gesture for an audience." His eyes held hers with earnest intensity. "This is private, just us." He opened the box to reveal a ring unlike any she'd expected. Not a traditional diamond, but an intricate band of rose gold embedded with tiny opals that caught the light in prismatic flashes. "An artist's ring," he explained, "for hands that create beauty." Tears blurred her vision as he continued. "You came into our lives when we were broken, Olivia, not to replace what was lost, but to help us build something new." His voice roughened with emotion. "I never expected to find love again. Never thought I deserved it. But Max helped me see what I was too afraid to acknowledge, that my heart had room for new joy without diminishing the past." He took her hand, his thumb tracing gentle circles across her palm. "I love you, Olivia Chen, not for saving us, but for showing us how to save ourselves, for teaching us that healing isn't about forgetting, but about growing around our wounds." He took a breath. "Will you marry me? Be my wife, Max's mother, our family's heart?" Before she could answer, Max appeared beside them, eyes wide as he spotted the ring. "You asked her?" he whispered, bouncing on his toes. "Can I tell her my part now?" "I think you just did, buddy." Max solemnly took Olivia's other hand. "If you say yes, Dad said I get to be best man. I already practiced walking really slow." Olivia looked between them, these two souls who had captured her heart so completely, so unexpectedly. "Yes," she said simply, her voice breaking on the word. "Yes, to all of it." As Ethan slid the ring onto her finger, Max threw his arms around them both, creating a circle of embrace that felt like completion. Around them, children's artwork hung like colorful witnesses to their journey, from broken silence to healing, from emptiness to fullness, from strangers to family. Later that evening, as they stood together on the terrace watching stars emerge, Olivia realized that her life had become a canvas far more beautiful than anything she could have painted, a masterpiece of second chances, unexpected joy, and love restored. Max had fallen asleep between them on the lounger, his small hands still clutching Olivia's sleeve, as if assuring himself she wouldn't disappear. Ethan gazed at them both, his expression one of quiet wonder. "Thank you," he whispered across the sleeping child. "For what?" she asked. "For taking a chance on us, for seeing beyond our walls." Olivia smiled, remembering the desperate woman who had arrived at these gates almost 8 months ago, seeking nothing more than shelter and a paycheck. "Some might call it destiny," she whispered back. Ethan's hand found hers in the darkness, their fingers interlacing just as their lives had, separate threads woven into something stronger, more vibrant, more resilient than either could have created alone. "I call it home," he said simply. And in that word, Olivia found the truth that had eluded her for so long. Home wasn't a place to escape to, it was people to return to. It was Max's laughter and Ethan's touch and the beautiful, imperfect love they had built from broken pieces. It was at last exactly where she belonged.